Hello, so this will be my official tutorial for activity number 5. Okay, so this will cover up the making of the parts, the assembly, and the motion study that we're going to put into this one. So basically this will be our final output. Let's just look at the isometric view. So that's the final output. This will be the motion study of the mechanism, right? So this will be the final thing, right? So that's 2 rotations, alright? So save. Alright, so let's go ahead and start off by making the base first, which is here, this one. So let's start off by making the base first since it's the easiest one. I'd like to do mine by beginning at the top plane. Make sure that you are in IPS mode, so change it from MGS to IPS. Go to the top plane, sketch in the top plane. Alright. Next is we're going to select this rectangle. Alright. Select rectangle, create a random rectangle. It doesn't matter how big this rectangle is, just as long as it's a rectangle. Alright. Next is create a circle. Now it doesn't matter how big the circle is, just as long as it's a circle. Now let's define this the shape. We're going ahead and give it a 5.5 measurement, 5.5 inches as the length, 5.5. Right, and then we want the width to be 2.5. 2.5. Alright. Next, we want to do is we want to make sure that the center of this, or the midpoint of this, is aligned with the midpoint of the circle. I mean the center of the circle. So we're just going to highlight the point here and the point here and create them as horizontal. After that, we'll go ahead and define the circle. And we want the circle to have a radius of 0.75 inches. Alright? Next, we want the distance of the center of the circle to this edge right here to be 0.5 inches. 0.5 inches. Alright, so it's going to bring it closer. And now we're done. Alright, so this is your first sketch. We're going to go ahead and extrude this to 0.25 inches. 25 inches. Right. Once that is extruded, we will create another sketch from this surface and extrude it and extrude cut it. Alright. So select the surface here and then right click, select sketch, and from there we'll go ahead and make another rectangle. We'll go ahead and make another rectangle from this corner to this edge right here. Now again, it doesn't matter how big the rectangle is, just as long as you start from the corner and end from this edge. Right? Next we want to do is we want to make sure that this width is at 1 inch. 1 inch. Right? And yeah, that's it. Now, how tall would be the height? We want the height, since this is a total of 2.25, and that means this part is only 2 inches high. So we'll put that down, 2 inches high. Alright, now we have that. And now let's create another sketch from this face. Right click and then sketch. And then we're going to create another rectangle. Again, it needs to be from an edge, anywhere along this edge to the other edge, right? Next thing we want to do is we want to take the midpoint of this square or rectangle and the origin. Oh crap. Make sure that it's only the midpoint and this origin as a horizontal. Alright, then from there they'll define it as 1 inch as well. This to this as 1 inch. Alright, so now it's a 1 inch by 1 inch square, and we made sure that the center point or the midpoint is now aligned with the center point of this circle or the origin. Right? Once that's done, we're going to go to features and extrude cut. Right? Now it says 2 inches. We don't want that. It says here there is an extrude cut of 0.25 inches, so that's 0.25 inches. Click OK, and there you go. So now this is our base. Right? This is our base. We're going to save this as let's go ahead and create a new file called tutorial. We'll name this as base, right? Or Scotch base. I don't know. Yeah, Scotch base. It's supposed to be named Scotch base, but you know, fuck it. I'll just name it base. Alright, second thing, we'll create another part. Let's go ahead and create the yoke. Alright, so the yoke will start off from the top plane. Alright, and then, so let's start another sketch from the top plane. And then I selected the rectangle there, and then another rectangle here. Alright. What we're going to do is we're going to trim this. So I click trim, and then I basically deleted the lines here and the lines here. Connect this line and this line. Alright, so now it looks like Minecraft penis. I mean, it looks like, yeah, whatever. Alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to select the center point of this line. Alright, the center, or the midpoint of this line and this origin, and we make sure that they're horizontal. Right? And we take the midpoint of this line and this origin. Right, and we make sure that they're horizontal as well. Okay, so now midpoints are all aligned. Now it's time to add in the dimensions. So for the length of this line right here, wait, I forgot. Make sure that this is in inches. IPS, inches. Change that to 7. 7 inches here, and then 1 inch here. Right. And then this should be 1 inch. Alright, so we're going to create another dimension from here, make that 1 inch. Alright, that's better. Now, for personal reasons, I want to make this center point and the midpoint of this line aligned. Okay, so I want them to be vertical. That's just my preferences. It's up to you if you want to do this. Yeah, I want to do that because I get OCDs and I want the hole to be exactly in the center of the origin as well. Alright, so now let's define this length as well as 8 inches. Right, and then we'll create another circle here. Right. Oh wait, no. Let's go ahead and delete the second circle. So we only need one circle. So we only need one circle, and the circle's radius is 0.375 divided by 2. So I'll just make it 0.375 inches. Right, so it needs to be that big, and we make sure that the center point of this circle and this origin is vertical in relation. now we make sure that this and this has a distance of 2.828. The reason why it's 2.828 is because 5.656 divided by 2 is 2.828. Right? So now what we're going to do is we're going to also make sure that this and this is 0.5, right? That's too redundant. Anyways, that's all good. Just make sure that it's 0.5, the distance of this edge and the center point of the circle. Next, what we want to do is we're going to create a line from the origin extended outwards. Make sure that it is horizontal, right? And we want to mirror the entities of this circle, and we'll mirror it about this line that we just created. Click OK, and then delete the line. Right, so once the line is deleted, now we can extrude. Oh wait, no, I'm so sorry. Pretty dumb. No, don't extrude it yet. Yeah, I forgot that we need to create a line here. Okay, so now from the point here, the left point here, there should be yellow dots or yellow diamonds in your circle, or the edge of your circle. Connect those with one another. Okay, and then trim these lines, these arcs. Right. And after that, click OK, exit sketch, and then extrude boss base. Now we can extrude this as 0.25 inches. Click OK, and voila! Now we have our yoke. Yes, this is a yoke. Click OK, save as. Exit, and then now let's create the sub-assembly for the crank thing, Scotch crank. Alright, so in order to create the Scotch crank, I believe the professor gave us this 2D drawing of the Scotch arm, of the arm, whatever, the rocker arm, as you would call it. So again, let's start off in the top plane, and then we'll add in a circle. Yeah, let's add in a circle here, a large circle there, and then a smaller circle here. Okay. Actually, yeah, you know what? It doesn't matter. Make this one big, make that one small. Make sure that you are in IPS and not MMGS. IPS is inches. Now let's go ahead and make the dimensions of this. Add in the dimensions. Make sure that this is 0.375 in diameter. Right. And then this one is 0.375. 0.75 in diameter. By the way, these are the inner holes, right? We're doing the inner holes first. So yeah, these are the dimensions. And now let's create another circle for the outer circle. Okay. I'll add in the dimensions. For this one is 3.75, 0.375. Right, and we make sure that under the leaders tab there is an option there for diameter or radius. We make sure that this is the radius. Let's go ahead and change that again. 0.375 is the radius. Right, now that's a little bit better, and we make sure that this as well. Oops, sorry. Let's go ahead and create another dimension here, and we'll change that into 0.75 as the radius. So again, go to leaders and then click radius. So you have radius or a diameter, right? And then change this to 0.75. It doesn't automatically change it, so you have to change it yourself, right? So once that's done, you've added in, make a smart dimension from the center of the circle to the other center of the circle, and we'll change that to 2.828. 2.828. Okay, and we'll create a line from here to here, and another line from here to here. Notice how I am avoiding the yellow diamonds or the orange diamonds in the circle. That's because once you start from there, it's going to automatically give it a relation that it is coincident to the point, right? So we don't want that. We want this line to not be coincident to those points, but instead you want these lines to be in tangent with the actual circle, right? This line, that line. We want it to be tangent. Right? Once that's done, all we have to do is trim the inside circles. I mean the outside, inner, whatever. Yeah, and once that's done, exit sketch, select the sketch, and extrude. This needs to be 0.25 inches again, and click OK, and voila. Now we can save this as arm. Crank arm, right? Or whatever the name is, I forgot. Yeah, that's a crank. It's just a crank, right? So now let's go ahead and create the pins. So let's start off a part. Again, let's start off in the top plane. Create a sketch. Select a circle from the center. Create a circle with a diameter of 0.75. Alright. Again, make sure that you are in IPS and not MMGS, just like what I did. It's wrong. 0.75. Oops. Yeah, no, that's better. Alright. Once that's done, we'll go to features, extrude boss base, and the pin that we are doing right now is the bigger pin, or the tall pin, right? And the tall pin's diameter is 0.75. Therefore, its height should be 2. Wait a minute. Therefore, the height should be 2. Yeah, the height needs to be 2. Right. Yeah, the height needs to be 2. Save this as pin number 5. Pin big, large pin. And then we'll create another smaller pin. Again, from the top plane, circle. Make sure that you are in IPS. Go back to the sketch. Add in the dimension. Make sure that this has a diameter of 0.375. 0.375. Right. And then features. We'll change that. Oops. We'll change that into extrude boss base, and we want this to have a height of 5 inches. Oops, sorry, no, 0.5 inches. Click OK. Now we have our small pin. Save all. Save this as small pin. Right, and then let's create an assembly. Right, so our first assembly should be the sub-assembly, which is the crank along with the crank arm and whatever. Right, I'm putting in first the crank arm. Second component will be the big pin. And then third component would be the small pin. Right. Quickly, let's add in the mates of these components. So we want the face of this cylinder top, and this face to be, make sure that they're coincident. Click OK. The exterior of this cylinder and the interior of this hole, we want them to be coincentric. This face, the bottom of the cylinder and the bottom face of the crank, make sure that they are coincident. The outside skin of the cylinder and the inside of the hole, make sure that they are coincentric. And there you go. This is now your crank sub-assembly, right? So this is an assembly, and we're going to put this assembly inside that assembly, right? So save this as crank assembly. Right. Now for the final assembly, let's go ahead and create another assembly, last assembly that we're going to create. First component that we're going to add in is the base. Second component that we're going to add in is the crank assembly. Oops. Third component that we're going to add in is the yoke. Right? Alright, I've also had a lot of people saying that, my component or my part is looking strange because it's not aligned, right? Well, for that, for example, if this is not aligned, first thing that I want to do is I want to delete it first, right? And then add it in again. But before I click OK, right, you want to rotate it, right, accordingly. So it's already good. I mean, all my parts are already aligned because I made it so that it's aligned. Anyways, but yeah, please do send me messages if you've got any questions about this alignment and whatnot for the orientation. But yeah, anyways, this is the assembly now. All of the parts and sub-assemblies are inside the main assembly, right? Now let's go ahead and give them mates, right? So again, clear this one first. So again, we want the exterior of this cylinder and the interior of this hole. We want them to be concentric. We want the bottom face of the cylinder and this bottom face of the base to be coincident. We want the bottom face of the yoke and this face of the base as coincident. And we also want the side face of the yoke and the side face of this hole as coincident. And now it can only move up and down. It can't move left and right. The final also this, you can do this. Oops. Must have lagged. I'm just adding it in again. The final mate that we're going to add is the outside of the smaller pin and the inside of this circle, of this hole, right? As you can see, the pins are outside of the hole. If you want to put them in, just flip mate alignment, right? And it's going to put it in. Click OK, and now you've got your activity number 5. But hold on a minute, this is not yet complete, right? So according to activity number 5, we need to have an AVI file that shows the rotor motion of our assembly at 10 RPM. Although we don't have to pass that, it needs to be a part of the assembly file, right? So we don't need to pass the AVI file, but we do have to pass the assembly file with the motion study. So we're going to go ahead and go to motion study 1. Click this. Go to right. Make sure that you are in isometric view, right? You can do that by pressing spacebar and then clicking one of the corners, right? make sure that you're in isometric view first, right? So that the orientation can also be in isometric view. Make sure that the animation is in basic motion instead, and then click motor, right? And the component direction, the face that you want to select is this face right here, the crank's top face, right? So you want to click that. Right? Anyways, that's it. Go back to REA. And then change the constant speed to 10 RPM. Once that's done, click OK. Before you press play, you have to increase this one first to 12 seconds, since it tells us that it needs to create true rotations. 12 is the exact number for 2 rotations, right? After this, just render in the movement and click play. Yep. Something about this is very sexual, but anyways, yeah, so I hope you guys learned something. Once this is done, you can just go ahead and save this as whatever the name is. Yeah, okay. So you can save it as whatever name you want to put. I chose mine as this one because it's true. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, please don't forget to comment, like, and whatever, or message me. So yeah, see you all.